Hello everyone. It's been a couple of days since the result, and I hope you have managed to process and digest everything that has happened. I fully understand that it is very tough for us to understand and come to terms with the result, but a very constructive and a forward looking and a positive question that comes in our minds being fighters is, what should I change? What different should I do in this attempt as compared to what we did earlier? Now, in this video, we'll try to share a few tips which you can possibly use to get that positive result that you very well deserve. First of all, develop what we say is a learner's mindset. Now, it's very normal for a student to think that we have tried everything, we have solved everything, we have covered everything, we have done it multiple times. What more can I do to change? We have done everything. So we feel a little lost and directionless. But the first step to get out of that is to probably acknowledge that if I've got relatively lower marks or have not been able to score as well, maybe I need to change something. Maybe I need to learn more. Maybe I'm making silly mistakes. Maybe I'm not having that proper flow in a theory answer. Accept the fact that maybe we need to learn something more. Accepting that earlier will help you in getting out of that mold. Otherwise, you'll be trapped in that dogma of thinking that I've done everything and I cannot improve further. Have that learner's mindset where you think that I have a little more to learn and I will correct and learn from my mistakes and hopefully get that desired result. So set a deadline in your mind. Maybe 2 days is a little too early. Maybe take another few days, maybe 2 or 3 days, but set a deadline, maybe 16th of January. And you say, this is a day where I start afresh. I put back my past baggage and I start afresh. I will be able to score because I know that I've made some mistakes and I'm going to learn from them, improvise on them. I have scope for improvement and I will come on terms with that. Now, coming to the actual operational execution, first of all is getting your mindset in place. After that, what should I do? And should I do something differently? Well, it's not necessary that you have to change your material, change your content, change everything. No. What you need to do is probably go into a little more detail, especially when you do that first reading now or first revision again. When I say more detailed, you need to focus on doing a little more pen and paper practice when it comes to at least the practical papers and focusing on how you reproduce, remember and write your answers in case of a theory paper. When you go to a pen and paper practice, a student typically says that should I solve it in fair as if I'm doing an institute paper? Well, it is not necessary that you do everything. All consolidation questions in pen and paper, fair format, that's not what I'm referring to. You do it in rough, that's fine, but you do it on your own. Maybe a question or two you try in fair as if you're solving the institute's paper. And it is most important and most relevant that you try relatively different questions as well, and that you do in fair from start to end on pen and paper. Sir, what do you mean by that? So you might have taken a class from many of the professors and most of them would try to cover the institute material, all the sums, etc. But there are a lot of sums in the past exams that have come which are similar to questions that are there in the material. Like you look at, if I give example for agriculture, Index 41, you'll have a very standard type of a question that usually comes in the exam. There is a question in the study material, there would be questions in your books, but if you want to practice new questions, suggested answers or your past exam papers are the best resource. We will also try, if possible, to compile similar questions from the suggested answers chapter wise so that you can practice those questions. Most of the questions that you would have done would be from the institute study material, RTP, etc. Similar questions from the suggested answers can be used because different names, different numbers force you to think, and as a result trying that, maybe figuring out that at one small place while I'm solving I may miss these points, and as a result that has a cascading spillover effect on the entire solution. Like if you're looking at a financial instruments question, you're doing it everything correctly, but maybe you're making a mistake in identifying a compulsorily convertible versus an optionally convertible debenture, and everything goes wrong because of that one small error. So while you glance through it, when you glance through the sums that you have done in your own class, you have a bias. You already know the answer. So it's actually working backwards. You know what is going to come, especially if you have done it already in the past. So taking different numbers, different names does an ocean of a difference. So that is the first thing that I would strongly recommend. When you're preparing for your course, try to do a bit of pen and paper. That can be in rough, that's fine. Maybe one or two problems of your class which is numerical, do it in fair, but definitely try relatively newer questions. I'm not saying different concepts you need to search and find. Similar concepts, similar application, and you try to practice them on pen and paper will help you a lot. Second is writing tests. Now, while you're writing tests, the next question would be that should I write chapter-wise test? Should I write the full portion test? When should I write test? Well, in my opinion, writing test which is at least 25 to 50% of the portion actually has any tangible impact. If you write a chapter-wise test, it will sometimes, and I may be wrong, but sometimes gives you that false feeling of completion, in the sense you believe that you know everything, but you've just done a chapter. You have seen multiple times that when you do a chapter, you are absolutely confident about it, but then when it comes in an entire 100-mark paper, after revising it, you kind of feel lost because there are a lot of concepts that you have to play around. So maybe covering up more topics and then attempting a test. Ideal would be minimum 25%, apt would be 50% of the portion, where you have those concepts that can be tested extensively. So that is what I strongly recommend. Yes, if you want to write chapter wise test, there's no harm in that, but don't take the marks that you get over there at face value because you have just done one or two chapters and written a test for that. Covering at least 40-50% of the portion and writing a test for that will test you extensively. So when you're preparing it for the first time now, ensure that around 25 or 50% you write a test. If possible, if someone is evaluating it, nothing like it. Otherwise, you can also evaluate it, comparing it with the relative suggested answers. And then at the end, if possible, write a full portion test. This is if time permits. Again, if you don't want to join a separate test series, that's absolutely fine. You can actually refer the past institute exam questions and try to pick up any random paper, let's say a November 20 paper or November 21 paper, and then write it. Compare it with the suggested answer. If you get someone to evaluate, your close buddy or friend, nothing like it. So writing tests do help. If you know someone who's going to give you fair, genuine feedback, join that test series. That would be helpful. Otherwise, you take the institute main papers, not necessarily the mock papers. Mock papers are relatively a notch easier. Take the main papers and write at least one, if possible two papers, and that would really help you. Third is you try to develop conceptual understanding. Now everyone says we need to develop conceptual understanding, but how does one develop a conceptual understanding? When you are preparing for a sum, a chapter, a concept, ask yourself, why would this provision be there? Ask yourself, in a sum, what if this information was missing? Or if you can connect it with some other sum, what if a similar information was given over here? What if that? Try to question yourself a lot while you're doing the first reading. When you do the second reading, you do not have time. You then are preparing for the exams. But when you're doing that first revision, try to question yourself a lot more on why a particular adjustment or why a particular treatment would have been suggested. What if a particular data was not there? What if some additional information was available? And that battle that you fight in your mind develops concepts. While you might not be able to answer everything to your satisfaction, even if you get a 6 on 10 on your answers, you have managed to think through deeper and not just accept what is written, and that develops concepts. So ensure you try to do that a little more if you want a deeper conceptual understanding. And if possible, at this stage, skip all the ABC analysis. Everything is A category for you. Now, especially with MCQs also coming in, it's very possible that those smaller things, which were not very important from an overall perspective, can be tested for MCQ. How you tackle an out of the box paper? Well, largely it is your confidence which comes from preparation. And doing just A category sums does not give you that confidence in general. So skip that ABC analysis if possible and try to keep everything into the A category. Try to do full exhaustive preparation. So if I summarize, 1, having the learner's mindset. 2nd, accepting. Learner's mindset is accepting that you have scope for improvement. 2nd, doing a little more pen and paper practice, and especially doing pen and paper practice more extensively for sums with different numbers or different names specifically. Rough can also work, and in theory, trying to develop a better flow for presentation of your answers. 3rd, writing tests, if possible, have it scattered over more chapters, at least 50% or 25% of your syllabus, and then at least write one full portion test where you time yourself properly. Can be the institute test, which is the best. Skip the ABC analysis and try to extensively focus on all that you have studied and prepared. Gives you a lot of confidence. Now, how do we get the motivation to restart? How do we get the confidence? Well, over the period that you have, I strongly believe that yes, you need a balance of both motivation as well as discipline. Discipline being more important and more consistent in the long run. So I would strongly recommend that you fix up a date, then don't look back on whether what has happened in the past. Just focus on things that you are going to achieve in the future, how you are going to achieve it. Try to develop a broad strategy, and most importantly, break it down into smaller, achievable targets. So while motivation might help you to get out of a crisis, so if you're feeling very low, very down, listen to a motivational speaker, listen to a motivational lecture, look up to your mentors and kind of get that motivation probably. But that will last, you also know, I also know, for a few hours. You need to sustain for a few months. So if you are in crisis, if you are feeling lost, yes, you listen to someone who is giving you motivation and is helping you go back on track. But the real motivation comes from discipline, and that discipline can be achieved by achieving daily, weekly targets. Put those targets achievable. A lot of people say, okay, we'll do FR in 6 days, 7 days. If you believe that is not going to happen, an unrealistic target is only going to push you further down. Have realistic, achievable targets, achieve them, and you will stay on course if you achieve your targets diligently, regularly. And if you have missed out your daily target, your weekly target, ensure that you compensate in the coming week, and that kick, that push that you will get will be the most important push, which is, in my opinion, sustainable. So try to develop a broad plan, but most importantly, break it down into weekly, if possible, daily targets, and try to achieve those targets. If you are feeling down, listen to someone who gives you that motivation, that you come back, or you can listen to YouTube revision videos or audio notes of your professors where you are not able to study and concentrate in front of your books. At least something is going in your mind and you're not losing that steam and momentum. Now, that is discipline versus motivation. Now, when we come to, let us say, something like one group versus two groups. So, should I give one group? Should I give two groups? Now, there's no easy or standard template answer for this. It depends on a lot of things, your scores, your work commitments, a lot of things. But as a thumb rule, and this may be different for every student, I personally believe that if your gap is more than 10 to at max 15% from the passing marks. So for example, you gave two groups and the passing marks were 400, that is in the last attempt, and you scored anywhere between 340 to 360. Or I mean, about 340 to 360, let us say. and you want to attempt 2 groups, I would still say you are in striking distance. You can attempt 2 groups. You should be motivated enough, you can try that. But if your gap is more than that for whatever reasons, remember, I mean, there would always be exceptions, but as a general rule, to bridge a more than 15% gap in a matter of 3 to 4 months is a little uphill. So if you want to get that confidence momentum back, focus on one group. Which group you decide, which is your stronger group. You need confidence, you need momentum, go with that group for the time being. But you try to have a realistic goal. I mean, you might feel very ambitious and you know yourself best. If you believe that you can achieve it, go for both the groups. But if you see that the gap is too big, there's no harm in giving one group, getting that much needed boost and confidence, and giving the next group in due course. That's absolutely fine, and you should be able to reach your goal accordingly. So please set that deadline now. Start studying. We will also share a lot of revision videos, all amendments, all changes, everything will be there. All your professors, all your friends are there to help you, to be with you. We are all with you. But ensure that you be confident about yourself, push yourself, know that it is a setback, and as they say, the comeback will be bigger than the setback. And when you look back at this is something that you will be proud of, how you kind of lifted yourself down from where you were and achieved what you did. These skills, this ability will take you to places, and I'm sure you have it in you. It is very normal, very human to feel lost, but not to lose. That is our basic instinct. We are going to fight for it. We are going to come back after 4 months in this video and mention that we did it. Okay? So I want that spirit with you. Study really hard. Be in touch, and good luck. We will connect soon with more revision videos and amendments, but I just wanted you to kind of wanted that you kind of get back. So keep your Josh high, and good luck for your May 24 preparations. Goodbye.